What's up, geeks and everyone else? Welcome to Geek Mythology, a podcast brought to you by my good friend Sal.
And Sete, also known as Sugi on YouTube.
Welcome to episode 15 of the podcast, and we've got lots to talk about today. And yeah, this episode's going to be all about fandoms and stuff because I was thinking about what we could talk about, and my mind sort of drifted off towards how I wanted to buy lots of stuff and start a collection, and this episode's going to be all about merch and buying
And like
things.
just fandoms in general, I
Yeah.
suppose. Like how the sort of like maybe differences there would be between fans, but like saying how that's still not a bad thing. And we were, we'll see where it goes.
And also I don't know if it's a thing already, but I feel like I've invented something. And it's the spectrum of fandoms, or the fandom spectrum, which I just quickly made up like when I was thinking of ideas to talk about. And yeah, I could talk about this fandom spectrum idea, which I made up later on.
I mean, I think I could give a quick example of it, really. Like, with Star Wars, there's going to be people who've only seen the films, right?
Yeah.
Then there's going to be people who've seen the cartoons as well,
Yeah.
right? But then with the release of The Mandalorian, it's sort of bridging that gap because people are watching The Mandalorian and say, oh, look,
yeah.
live action. Then they see characters like Ahsoka and they're like Bo-Katan and they're like, wait, what? Who are these people?
Yeah.
Then they find out maybe they get into cartoons because something like
Yeah.
The Mandalorian.
And then you get the people who would also read the books and especially the comics. And some people have seen like absolutely everything. And then there are people who might have money and they just start buying a bunch of stuff. You know.
I mean, I was just gonna say, in terms of Star Wars, I've recently gotten to a caliber of seeing all the visual media finally, as
Yeah.
well.
Apart
So
from
that's
wait, have you
cool.
seen all the standalone movies?
Oh, okay. Minus the stories, right?
Yeah.
All the main media. The stories are still main, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
do you want to start off with us in terms of talk about like what we have or what we would want?
I'm disappointed in you, Salmian. This is like the third time now that you've forgotten to serve your purpose of reminding me of the joke.
How about I tell you the joke?
Do you know the punchline? I'm pretty sure you know the
I'm
punchline.
not gonna tell you. I'm not telling you the joke.
Okay.
I'm not telling you the joke.
Here's the joke. Why should you not trust atoms? Silence. Because they make up everything.
I feel like you've either I've heard that before, definitely. But I don't know whether you've said
it's one of our physics teachers. He doesn't teach us currently, but I had him in year 11. And he's the guy who runs board games club. He has a mug with that joke. Why should you not trust atoms? And like in year 11, like last year, I've seen that mug many times. And yeah, it's a great joke, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
before that quick distraction, what were we going to talk about? I forgot. Like, I know you.
I feel like we're gonna talk about this. We might have said this many times, but like when this far in, we can mention it again about like maybe how far into certain fandoms we are or how we feel we are.
Like we can place ourselves like on the scale of the fandom spectrum, which I'll talk about later on. This new thing that I made up. But yeah. So yeah, this
like always.
Yeah.
Like always, I suppose we could start with Star Wars for us, since that's something common.
I like how right after like the I just don't know what to say. And as I said last time, it's all improvisation, and we always start off with Star Wars because that's what we're comfortable with.
That's just what no, really. Like, we have our different interests, but the thing we have common ground on normally, other than like Harry Potter, is Star Wars. Especially because there's always new Star Wars stuff coming out.
Yeah,
etc.
I mean, speaking about Harry Potter, I'm getting really into it, like really into it recently.
Yeah. I mean, Harry Potter has like Harry Potter is one of those things because of like the houses and stuff. And like, there's an actual way to represent yourself in the fandom due
Yeah,
to the houses.
yeah,
It's definitely sort of uh I don't know how to put this. I could just say fandom, but it's also kind of like media, like cash grab's not the right word, but it can be. Like there are
yeah.
definitely people who would want to present their house.
I'm
Me
I'm
included.
gonna mention the fandom spectrum now just to get
Yeah,
because
do it. Because
everything
I
builds off
don't know what
from
you've
the
heard.
spectrum of this. So yeah, the fandom spectrum, which I pretty much just made up like recently, is like a spectrum of how into a fandom you are. So on
Okay,
one side you've got like the casual fans, um,
right.
who've seen the movies, for example, like maybe for Harry Potter or Star Wars, they've seen the movies, but that's it. And then on the other side, on the other side of the spectrum, you've got like the diehard fans who probably have their job, um, like their job is to talk about fandoms or read comics and things. Like YouTubers or people who work for like Hollywood. Um, that's the other side where they collect stuff, they buy everything, they watch and read everything. That's the other extreme
Yeah.
side of the fandom. And then you've got the bits in between. So like as we were saying, you've got the people who just watch the movies, then you've got the people who also watch the shows, and then you've got the people who read all the comics, and then you got the people who like invest in the fandom and buy and
Mm.
start collections, and they buy all sorts of memorabilia and all that, for example. So that's basically the spectrum, and it differs slightly with the different fandoms. For example, Harry Potter. Um,
Yeah. I
there
mean,
aren't comics for Harry Potter, but there are certainly collections. There are certainly like theme parks and
and
experiences you could go to.
there are further books like the Fantastic Beasts books, the
Yeah,
history throughout the ages.
yeah. So there's that. And yeah, as I said, it differs between different fandoms, and I know in Star Wars there is this culture of gatekeeping where you've got people who I'd say are more into the fandom, who are more into the spectrum, and then they sort of like bully the people who are just a bit more casual and say, "You're not real
Oh no!
fans.
You
Only a
don't
true
understand.
fan will get
No,
this."
no. Listen, I feel like I don't because I was still thinking about, but I don't know whether you sort of mentioned this, but like those sorts of people you can sometimes say people who don't let people be fans, are
Yeah.
they fans? They're like that. That's what we call gatekeepers. We don't like
Yeah, we don't
gatekeepers.
like gatekeepers.
Gatekeepers are
Like,
bad.
you can watch one Star Wars movie and you can still be a fan of Star Wars even though you haven't seen
Yeah.
the rest. I mean, you might not be like in the fandom spectrum, you might not be as into it as other people because you haven't seen the rest, but you shouldn't be like forced out of the community just because you've
Like
only seen one movie, right?
I
You like
mean,
yeah.
I feel it was justifiable for you guys, like you and our other friends, to be angry at me for not having seen the original trilogy yet because of the fact that I'd seen everything else. So it only made sense that I should have seen the original trilogy,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
had not. Well, yeah, but I had not. Oh my god, I have been like searching up the scale of a fan or like levels of a fan.
Is it a
I
thing?
think that. I mean, there were like fan pyramids I found.
I want to make Fandom Spectrum a thing, right? Make it like
Yeah,
a,
yeah.
and I want to be the guy who invented it.
I
But
mean,
anyway,
I feel like for me, a lot of the time, especially when I was younger, like I'd find something, and like if I've said this, if I found something and I wanted to watch it, I'd watch it
yeah.
all of it. So I'd be like, I guess if I look at what I found, right, in terms of fan tone, if I
Mhm.
find it again quick, I think it started with dormant.
Mhm.
It started with dormant, casual, engaged, super ultimate. I like super ultimate are probably people who like proper into it. I feel like I'd be somewhere like engaged for a lot of
Yeah.
things.
I think.
But of
Yeah.
course, like I feel like super and ultimate are kind of just like they have just like the lower down you are, there's probably like a much more closeness between the levels, but between engaged and super and ultimate, the gap's rather far. And at that point, it doesn't matter. You're a big fan at that point. if you're like engaged into the medium or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
I just want to add, people who write fan fiction, um, that's also going to be on the extreme or ultimate side of the spectrum. Just to add that.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
probably like up there. But I was gonna say, in terms of us, right?
Yeah.
Star Wars, I'd say we're engaged. We're definitely
I might
engaged.
say that I'm a bit more than that because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, if I had money, I definitely have a collection right now of like Funko Pop figures
definitely,
and all sorts of
definitely.
stuff. If I had money, and I would have
Yeah.
probably gotten a replica lightsaber and
I mean,
stuff like that, which we'll talk about
oh,
later.
I think the biggest example for me in terms of like being a big fan or like at least an engaged fan, other than like stuff where I've seen everything and they're like rather recent, is stuff like Pokemon, right?
Mhm.
Where like I've only played one game, which some people may like trash on me for because they're like, how can you be a fan of Pokemon but have only played one game?
Yeah.
But it's the other fact that I've seen every single episode of Pokemon pretty
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
since I came out 22 years ago. So like, it's sort of weird because like you can be a fan of things in different ways, but like that doesn't mean you're any less of a fan than somebody
Yeah.
else. Because I guess with I'm trying to think of a good one. I guess with game series, right? Game series which have like other mediums or something,
Mhm.
right? So like you can be a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh without ever having played the game
Yeah.
because you've seen the anime, or like
Or like with
you same with
Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with Pokemon. And I guess with other things, I can't really think of other examples other than like maybe Harry Potter. But you can still be a fan of it, liking the films,
Like, yeah.
but haven't
I
seen the
I
the
was a
books.
I don't know if I would be allowed to call myself a Potterhead by various gatekeepers, but I would have considered myself a Potterhead, even though I've never read the books.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I watched all the movies, I read The Cursed Child, and I
yeah, that's
even got into
amazing.
like fan fictions and Discord roleplay and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
and went to Harry Potter Studios. Um, you know,
yeah.
so
Uh,
I'd say I was pretty into it, even though I've never read the books. But I know there will be some gatekeepers out there who would be like,
I think what I'm simply trying to say is you can be a big fan without having to show it, or different people express it in different ways. Like some
yeah,
people cosplay, some
yeah,
people write fan fictions, some people make like I don't know parody songs or stuff like that.
yeah,
Like people express in different ways, or sometimes they don't express at all and they just enjoy it for themselves.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I know you don't even need to be part of the fandom to be a fan. You don't need to interact with other people in the fandom like
yeah,
me
yeah.
for the longest time. And even still, I don't really interact with people in a fandom as much as I do just enjoy things by myself.
Like for me, I'm very actually never mind. I mean, I was gonna say I'm
I,
really into
I,
Avatar, but I'm not really
yeah,
part of the fandom. But if you count
yeah,
my
yeah.
friends who are also into Avatar, I don't know if you
I,
count that
I
as the
no,
fandom.
I don't know how much. Yeah, I
But
feel like whenever people
I don't like go on
gender things,
Twitter
like
or Reddit and talk about
yeah,
it, you know. But
yeah.
yeah.
I think we've sort of covered ourselves, but suppose if we're gonna talk about merchandise, I feel like it would be good to talk about any
So yeah, I'd
merchandise
say
they own.
merchandise by like if on the spectrum, you're like sort of towards the middle, maybe on the more extreme side of the middle bit. If you're gonna want to buy merchandise and invest
Yeah,
money into something,
I mean,
I think you need to have a level of appreciation for the fandom to want to spend money, you know.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
I feel like the first pieces I don't. Because like this most simplest pieces of merch is popping into Primark, seeing a T-shirt you like,
yeah,
grabbing
that's
the same.
basically me. I mean, in terms of the Star Wars
Yeah,
merch I've got like a couple T-shirts.
I mean,
Um, and I think that's it. I definitely asked for like Star Wars themed stuff for
you
birthdays,
have the keyring
and
as well.
I've
You have
got
the
like
keyring.
the Imperial insignia as a keyring, which I have in my backpack.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
got
yeah,
this
yeah.
Darth Vader like flask bottle thing.
Do you know something? A personal piece
Hmm.
of merchandise that I now, right, other than T-shirts,
Yeah,
something I appreciate even more. And like, if I can't buy anything else, I will buy this if there is mugs. I love mugs
mugs.
now.
Yeah, I've got
Like
like a Star Wars mug.
I think it really started like last year in 2019 when I went
Hmm.
to Insomnia. I bought like this foam sword. I bought like some other stuff. I mean, the first convention I went to, I didn't have enough money, so all I bought were pins, badges, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And it was cool because they were from like most of them were from. Instagram artists. Some of the others might have just been like,
Yeah.
printed on. But like you got to support like artists out there, like
Yeah.
individual artists who make their living on this. But in Insomnia last year, there was this company called Helm Maiden Hellmouth or something like that.
Yeah.
And what they do is they basically take memes and pop it
Yes.
on
On it.
t-shirts and mugs and stuff. So
Nice.
I got like a surprised Pikachu face mug because I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah.
But then for Secret Santa in December, this isn't a Fandom mug. My friend was just like, he just bought me a mug, like those thermal mugs. So like in this mug, there is mostly blue. Then there's a battery where with the heat, the battery goes up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think from those two mugs, it started me like mugs are cool. I use them a lot, and mugs
Yeah.
are just
Yeah.
nice. You're gonna keep them if anything, because like you might grow out clothes, you might lose a pin, but if you somehow lose a mug, okay, that's a bit.
I
I
mean,
feel
for me, like, I'd say I've got like a bunch of old mugs at the back of the cupboard that no one ever uses.
yeah, but I feel
um,
like what I'm saying is like if I think
yeah,
I think even if it's not t-shirts, because t-shirts I don't go out much, I don't wear them much anyway. But mugs, I can just use
just
mugs.
use
And
them.
they're just nice because I feel like if you break off the handle, you still keep it because you can still hold it depending on what the drink is. But the only time you'll get rid of it if you like crack it straight through the middle. I'm holding my mug right now and I pray to the Lord, whatever Lord Hindu gods, I hope this never breaks
No,
because
it never
the
breaks.
mug I have with me is an exclusive mug from the London Pokemon Center, which is only up for like a month.
Yeah,
So it's an
yeah,
exclusive sort of special mug. I went there hoping to get something more like a golden pin or like something like that, but I got this mug, so I'm happy. Basically, mugs are cool.
mugs are cool.
If you don't have enough money for anything else, buy
Buy
mugs because you're gonna
mugs,
keep them for
yes.
life, pretty much.
um, and apart from mugs, I tend to like to collect posters, and I don't have many.
Mm,
And they're definitely not those big ones that that like, especially YouTubers
yeah.
that they have like giant posters in their like walls, right?
I mean, there are different types of posters as well.
I've
There
got
are
like,
normal paper
yeah,
posters, right?
yeah,
Then there are wall scrolls as well, which are
yeah,
sort of things where you hang them up and it sort of comes down and it's made of like fabric.
yeah.
But then the latest sort of poster I found out about, well, not the latest, I found out about it like a year or two ago, but I genuinely thought about it, is something called display.
Are they like the metal ones?
Yeah, it's the metal ones
Yeah,
which you like
yeah.
magnetically put on you. The only thing I found out is that they're not necessarily official. They're normally like if you're looking for
They're like on
fandom related
Etsy and
stuff,
stuff, right? Like
like
those.
display
Uh,
is a website itself. But what
yeah.
I'm saying is that if you want something fandom specific and not just something cool to put on your wall, like just a wolf or some
Mhm.
trees or some mountains, it's normally from like artists. So I think if
Yeah.
you're going to buy from
Yeah.
for fandoms, you probably want to track back to the original source of the artist. See if you'd want to buy something from said artist if it was their own stuff and sort of stuff. But posters are definitely like the one of the more basic things. If you don't mind putting stuff up on your wall.
Like, I've never actually spent money on posters, but I've
Uh,
definitely collected
you got
some
like
like
yeah,
freebies
you
given
got
out,
the
right?
Odeon
Yeah,
posters.
because when I saw Endgame, I saw it like a couple days after the release, so it's very new. So they were giving out like free posters, and I got like
Uh-huh.
this A3 sized Endgame poster. And then when Rise of Skywalker came out, I saw it opening night, and I got like these two posters, and then I got framed and then put them in my wall. Um,
Yeah. I feel
yeah.
like yeah, posters are one of the other sort of things that people would get.
And I
They're
know
they're
I
on
know I do want a
they're on the
giant.
cheaper side as
They're on the cheaper
well.
side as well. And I know when I get my new bedroom done because my house is getting renovated, I do want to have like, it's not going to be a poster necessarily, but I do want to have a giant mural that covers like the whole
A
wall.
shrine. A
A
shrine.
shrine.
Oh, that's like that's you're pushing super fan of a certain character or thing if you have a shrine.
I don't think I'm gonna specifically have a shrine, but I do want to have a wall just with
Mural,
like
yeah.
giant mural. But I don't exactly want it to
Yeah.
be obvious. I just want I want the wall to be like themed, like the hyperspace, the star thing, or I know one person has this YouTuber called I I don't know his name. I forgot, but he's from New
What's
Zealand.
the
He's the
okay.
one. He's the he got a few viral videos of like teaching his dog how to play Minecraft like that. So you might know him.
Okay.
But I know
Okay.
in
Yeah.
his bedroom, one of his walls is the first page of Harry Potter. So it's like the whole wall
Oh,
is like a book page, and
like writing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not intrusive. It looks nice, and it's like
Yeah.
a subtle like feature wall, which I kind of want to have,
Yeah.
but with Star Wars.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
That's like decorating your room and your walls is definitely one way
yeah,
to express yourself. I feel like if we're talking merchandise, just to wrap this up, probably
yeah,
because I can't really think of much else. Because you've got like mugs and like household items that you
yeah.
use around the house. You've got clothing. You've got stuff you put on your wall. Then like I feel like the final category really comes under like plushes and figures,
And toys, right? And would you count
which
toys? Yeah,
plushes are normally relatively inexpensive. They're like
yeah.
you can get some plushes. Figures is
Figures.
definitely like a big thing. I feel like the cheapest figure you can get, but the type of figure that maybe mainly anime fans will trash on a lot of the time because they're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, it's so cheap. They're like, oh, those aren't like proper figures. But some people are like, I'm happy to have it. That's pop vinyl figures, right?
Yeah, I want those. I
People,
mean,
I've seen like some people. Yeah,
they're quite
they're cute,
mainstream,
right?
I'd say,
But
and
I've
they're
definitely
cute.
seen like
Yeah.
I've seen some anime fans like sometimes like if you choose pop vinyl over something else without the intention to get the other thing, it's normally like, oh, why? Okay, huh?
I mean, for
That's sort of
me,
like
like pop vinyl, Funko vinyl, vinyls, figures, vinyls, figures. Those they're quite popular, and they definitely market themselves. So
yeah,
that's why I know
they're the
about
cheap.
them.
They're the cheap ones. They're like you can buy like one for like
Like
12
10,
pounds.
yeah. I know there are more
Yeah,
expensive ones because they're
they're
rarity.
like actual like you have like what is it like an eighth size figure or like something that's eighth
But
the
also you've
size
got
of
like the different rarities. Like you get the ones you can buy at your supermarket or at the game store. But then you've got like some that are only out, like limited edition ones that are only out for a certain amount of time. You've got ones that are only available at events. I know for Star Wars Celebration, this like official convention that Star Wars have, they sometimes release like special collectibles that are only available there, and then if you don't go, you can't get it basically. So I know that you get different prices. Like some of them are cheap, you can afford them, and then some you want to spend maybe hundreds of
yeah, it
pounds
depends.
on
I feel
something.
like if you're an anime fan and you're watching this, I feel like other than pop, another sort of small figure that I don't think they go above $100, but they're normally in the 50 to 60, 50 to 80. There's something called Nendroid, and it's similar to pop, but they're more like customizable. Because pop, they're like standstill, but I feel like I'm gonna quickly see because Star Wars, right? Let's see if there are any Nendroid stuff. Oh, Star Wars has some Nendroid stuff as well.
Yeah,
So like
I don't
Nendroid
think
is
I've
definitely
heard of this, and I
another
know for
cheap
me
sort of
personally,
company. Which
I know for me personally, I don't think I've got to that stage yet of searching up collectibles and searching up things to buy. So I only know of pop vinyl figures or Funko Pops because YouTubers have
if you
them and
want
they're
an
pretty
example of some
mainstream.
Nendroids,
Yeah.
these are sort of what Nendroids are. They're sort of like similar to pop. They're small figurines but they're a
Oh
bit more
right.
detailed, so they normally cost around like 50 to 80.
They're
But otherwise, other than these small figures, you have these proper like detailed posable figures as well, which are normally like above a
you
hundred
just okay.
dollars.
You just sent me a picture of
Those are like
Kylo
that
Ren, and he looks like an anime.
Nendroid is what they're called.
I can
Yeah, so
definitely see.
they're normally for anime characters, but like
Yeah.
pop is good because it covers a wide variety of like anime, live action shows, cartoons. It
If
covers a
yeah.
wide sort of variety.
If
But
I had
that's
to get a if I had to start a collection of like figures, I'd say I'd go for the Funko Pop ones, simply
yeah.
because
I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
basically if I had to start a collection, and I
So
do want to start a
I feel
collection
like
if I had
there's a wide
money.
range. Yeah. So if we want to sort of close out the merchandise
But
section of this
before that,
video,
are you the
oh,
sort
okay. Is
of
there something
guy
more?
who would unbox your figures, or would you keep them in the box if you collected like
Honestly, looking at my current room, buying one in the first place. No, I
but
feel like
if you
it
did have a
depends on
collection?
I think depending on said figure, I'd
Yeah.
either want it out or in the box. It would depend. Because say like I want to look say I want out of the box and like I want to pose it a certain way, I would do that. But if I want to like keep it in the box, I will.
I
But
feel
honestly,
like for me,
I'd probably take it. I'd take it
I'd
out of the box,
yeah
but I'd keep the box safe.
yeah. For me,
Because
I'd
of course,
probably keep it in the box, especially for
oh,
Funko Pops. I mean, there's not much
yeah.
you could do with that apart
Oh,
from look at it.
Funko Pops, yeah. I was going to say, do you know, say it's like some of the more complex figures. I'd say what you, I think I've definitely heard this as well. But you've got a lot of figures. You'd probably want to keep the boxes because it would make transporting them from one
Yeah,
place to another easier. You're
yeah,
moving house. It's easier to have the boxes, put them back in the boxes instead of like, having a jumble of figures where they might break as
yeah.
well.
And
So
also, I
I
know
think I
if
take them
yeah,
out of the boxes, but keep the box.
yeah. And also, sometimes you might have like a rare figure, that you might want to resell when
Oh,
you're
yeah,
older,
yeah.
right? And if it's unopened, you're gonna make way more money than if it was
Mint,
opened. Like
mint condition.
I know there's gonna be like especially the rare Funko Pops, the ones that you don't normally get. You can sell them on eBay
Yeah,
for lots and lots of money. Um, you know.
yeah,
And then you've got even like original toys from the 70s and 80s. If they're
yeah,
if they're still in its packaging and not opened, you can spend hundreds of, you can
yeah.
like hundreds of pounds by selling toys like that. Um and those are quite rare now because they're old. But
I
yeah.
think what I was gonna say, we've been talking about merchandise for a while, and we've already mentioned this, but I thought to finish off the merchandise bit, like at this point in time, specifically, if you had a bit more money, what sort of merchandise would you focus on getting? Probably.
Okay. So I'd say, well, it depends on the fandom. I don't
Yeah,
think I'd start a collection, mainly because I feel like, I mean, one figure is not that expensive, but for a collection, you want to collect all the characters that you like, right? And that's going to add up. So I feel like I'd want to have a lightsaber first, and I'm going to talk about
yeah,
lightsabers later. But I'd want to have a lightsaber first. Um, and I think that would be it for Star Wars, just the lightsaber. I
yeah.
think for Harry Potter, I definitely want to have a wand, and that's like £30. Um,
Would you try and in terms of wands, would you try and get your wand that Pottermore has said,
I
or would you get
I
like a character's wand?
I don't
Like
know. I feel like I want to custom like my own wand. I think because
say the closest you could get it is like if you find a wand that's the same, that's
that
meant to
looks the
be the
same.
same quote unquote wood and maybe
Yeah,
the same length as
same width and
suggested by
length. Yeah,
Potter,
yeah, yeah.
or would you like prefer to get a character's wand?
I'd say my own personal wand because
Yeah,
then and then yeah. So I'd get a wand. I'd also want to get that time turner necklace. I just think it's
yeah,
a nice
absolutely.
piece of like
Do
a
you know
nice thing
something
to
that
wear
popped into
around your
my
neck.
mind?
Yeah,
What popped into my mind became like key rings. Is
earrings.
something
Yeah.
else that's interesting. I feel like for me, if you're down, of course.
Wait. Okay, I'll quickly name one more thing, and and I was gonna say I want to have the collection of Harry Potter books in the
Oh,
special edition ones in your house colors. I'd say
oh
maybe
yeah, yeah.
just to have them
Because
there
they've
as
they've released six of the books in the House Colours now,
yeah,
and there's Deathly Hallows left.
and they might not serve a practical purpose, seeing as I would have read them already. But it's just nice to have a collection of the
Yeah,
books.
and say when you have children,
Yes,
come
I
here, son. Let me
I
show you these quality
if you
books.
bring them up in fandoms, they're going to grow up to like it.
Yeah,
They're going to grow up to
I mean,
become.
that's already happening. Like that Star Wars fans, right? They're gonna be bringing their children
That's
into
what
Star
I'm
Wars.
going to be. I'm going to show them the
Yeah,
kids shows, and then when they're old enough, they're going to watch the movies, and then by the time they're like
yeah,
12, they're probably going to be big fans.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, I mentioned earlier. Honestly, plushes are always nice, but
Oh, I do want to
I
have.
I'd want
If I had money,
like
I'd buy Baby Yoda one. I know, I
yeah.
know. There's
I mean,
this life-size, realistic Baby Yoda figure that costs like $500, and it looks so realistic. I really want one.
yeah. I was gonna say, obviously, I've already said this. Mugs are
Mugs.
practical. They're good. I guess like stuff like drinkware, I suppose, like flasks,
Mm,
because you can like sort of take it out.
yeah,
Keyrings are something simple where like you can pop it on your
yeah,
bag or like on your keys. So I'd probably stick to like simple, small things, right?
yeah.
Stuff that is obviously more inexpensive than huge fig. I don't really have too much of an interest in figures, to be honest, because I never have too many specific characters. I guess I buy pops and stuff.
I know
But
when
what's
I was
your
like maybe a couple years ago, I saw this the Lego were releasing like these giant Lego sets of like the Millennium Falcon and like the Star
yeah.
Destroyer, which is like almost a meter long or something like that. They're huge.
Oh my.
They're huge, right? They're giant, and there's like it's tens of thousands of pieces. But they're so expensive. I think the Star Destroyer is like $700. But I'm like, if I was rich, I'd definitely buy that because number one, it's Lego. Lego's always fun, and number two, it's a giant Star Destroyer. You know?
Oh, do you know something I just thought of in terms of clothing? It's just quickly. I feel
Yeah,
like maybe a lot of people our age, or me specifically, I feel like instead of t-shirts, I buy hoodies.
hoodies.
Just
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, that's
That's
merchandise.
merchandise.
You can tell I'm British because mugs. I
Um,
don't know why I said that.
moving on to something
But yeah.
slightly related to merchandise and like collectibles, I want to talk about like collectibles from primary school that are not necessarily like fandom related, but I know in my primary school you had different like crazes. More recently, we've had like things like fidget spinners and stuff, but I know
Oh,
before then,
definitely like trends.
yeah, we had like trends like loom bands.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all I can remember.
I know
Really,
when I was in like year three, I think we had like trash packs, like
I don't know what
squishy
those
collectible
are.
things.
I remember these sort of little like small toys which look like things,
Yeah,
creatures, where like flick them
I mean there were
and
many, and we don't have to go into
I
specifics,
feel
but
like the main one I can talk about is
Beyblade,
that
yeah,
was definitely something. Oh,
but
do you know
it's
something we might have just missed out on is like the Yu-Gi-Oh craze as well, where
Yu-Gi-Oh,
people
yeah,
just like do it in the mid Pokemon as well, I suppose.
and Pokemon cards. Like the whole point of like collect it, it's not just figures; it's also cards and things. But definitely, it's a thing of people's childhoods where you like you can get like packets of them in like supermarkets. Like you get
Yeah,
10 of them, for example,
yeah.
and then you can like people would trade them and want to
But
collect them
but I feel like that's only a small percentage of said children knew how to play the game or tried to play the game
for
of
Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know in my primary school there were like these trash pack figures which people wanted to buy, and I never
I,
got them because I was never allowed to buy them.
I
So
don't think I cared
yeah,
too much about those things.
I mean I kind of cared
Uh,
because it was like this. It was basically me being jealous, I'd say, because it was like this social thing,
yeah.
and you just felt left out if you didn't have anything to trade or didn't have anything to collect.
Uh,
So I know I cared.
I mean, yeah, I feel
Yeah,
like a lot of this had something to do with games as well, because obviously I feel like if we're gonna talk about something like games that people collect, I definitely want to get into the current Beyblade series, right?
mm,
Because obviously there's a competitive scene to that as well, which
yeah,
I want to try and get into. I
yeah,
guess it's sort of just like yeah, it's sort of like children are just like they're like, ooh, cool, flicky, play toy thing. Yeah,
yeah.
let me have.
With these collectibles, right? It's not just like fandom or geeky like things, right? I
Yeah,
know,
that
I know a
it's the
big thing.
trend. I feel like
I know
the
a big
best way to
thing was
describe it is the trend.
football like player cards, match attacks. I know loads of
Ah,
people collected them, and like
yes,
there
yes.
were just different genres, right? You might not be into like Pokemon, but you might be into sports, and you collect like the
Hmm.
sports like match attacks. So I know there's like basketball. I think there's like it's not as popular because basketball isn't as popular in Britain, but you know you've got cards like that for football players, and it's just a thing, right? Like part of people's childhood of
Yeah,
like collecting either cards or toys, trading them sometimes. I know my cousins have
yeah.
Beyblades, and they traded
You
them
can't
at
really
school.
trade. You can't really trade Beyblades
I know
unless you have like.
I know what's funny, right? Because there are Beyblades that are rarer and more are better, right? I I assume.
No, I'd say they're almost all equally as. If you talk about the English versions, right,
Yeah,
they're all going to
because
be equally as rare because
I
they're just
know
going to be
I know
bought
my
mixed
one of my
by
cousins got in trouble because by their parents because they traded one Beyblade. They traded like multiple Beyblades to get one back, right? And
like, oh god.
and it
Sorry,
doesn't make sense, right? Like it's a
like,
bad
okay,
deal.
for card games, right?
For
You're
cards,
gonna
it
have
might make
a lot of
sense because
but for
rarity.
Beyblade, it doesn't make sense because
Yeah,
why trade when you can just buy the part?
yeah. So I guess it makes more sense for like Pokemon cards maybe or something else, card games. So maybe that's where it would make sense to trade multiple cards to get one back if it makes sense in terms of rarity.
But
Anyway,
yeah, I think
yeah.
there's one more thing I'd like to talk about in terms of
Sure,
fandoms,
sure.
if we're to,
Okay.
and it's something you put in there, and we've sort of touched upon it, but conventions. I feel like
Yes.
okay, it always depends. I feel like you have much more of a intent to go to something more Star Wars focused.
I know you always
Like,
talk about Insomnia, which is a gaming like convention,
I
right?
mean, I feel like I'm less interested in the gaming part of it, and it's more like
Meeting
a
up with
way
your
to meet up with
friends.
my friends.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I've definitely, I feel like I've talked to like our friend Tom, like the Tom we talked to. Like he's been to Comic Con before with his friends and stuff,
Mm.
and I was like, oh, that'd be cool to go because I've only ever been to Comic Con alone because I could
Is
never
Comic
get.
Con good? I know in America there's a lot of hype around Comic Con, but I don't know about
No,
here.
no. The thing is, Comic Con is a generic name. In
Yeah,
America, there are a lot of different. The main one here is going to be MCM Comic Con, London specifically for
yeah,
us,
yeah,
and it's good because it's like it's just sort of like it's a place to meet other people with similar interests, and you can either go to panels or just walk around,
yeah,
talk to people,
yeah.
maybe go with your friends even. I guess one thing to do is cosplay, which I know we've had certain ideas about
I've
all of
seen
you.
like Toy Story cosplay on the train going home from school once. Someone was
Oh,
dressed
really?
up as I was going home from school on the train, and there were two guys. One was dressed up as Buzz and one was dressed up as Woody. And I was like, yeah, they
Like,
probably went to some
yeah,
convention.
I mean, like cosplay is interesting because like you can either have a very simple, you just buy it online, or you do some stuff yourself, or like it depends on characters. But I feel like we've talked about cosplay sort of lightly because like we have some form of interest, but like it's better when you do it with friends. Everything's better when you do it with friends, whether it be going to a cosplay or going to a cosplay, going to a convention.
Yeah, so yeah, conventions. If there was one convention I really wanted to go to, it would be the Star Wars
It's gonna
Celebration.
be, yeah.
The
Where does that
official.
normally happen?
So normally it's in America. Um, the one for
Yeah.
2020 was cancelled. That was supposed to be in Anaheim, where like Disneyland is and
Okay.
all that. But I know for one of the years they went to Berlin, so that they went to like Europe for one of them. And if Star Wars Celebration does come to Europe again, I definitely want to go because it's quite rare, I'd say. It's not like it's an official Star Wars convention, so it's going to be big, and that's where they like announce all the new Star Wars things. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's official. There's lots of
Yeah.
panels, and it's you can buy
Uh,
lots of stuff, get lots of rare things. I think okay, so you've been to Insomnia, but I've not actually been to a convention. But the closest thing I've experienced was this fan event thing that happened in my town in like the town center, and it was this. It wasn't even they built up so much hype by putting posters in the shopping malls and stuff in the shopping center. So I was like, yeah, this is gonna be interesting. So I went, and it was a bit overrated, I'd say. There
did
was
you feel like it was underwhelming?
it was underwhelming. It was like selling a bunch of people selling stuff, which wasn't even like
Yeah.
Star Wars related. There was a couple
Yeah.
people cosplaying, which was fun. And I definitely managed to take like a few pictures with like this Darth Vader guy. And then they had this lightsaber battle with some of the stunt artists of a Star Wars
Uh,
movie, which was it's not a celebrity, but it's pretty cool to have like a stunt artist
they
there.
they were there.
They
They
were
were
there,
there.
and they did this like lightsaber duel on the roof of a building, and then they fell down and landed on a crash mat, and it was like this, I don't know, 20 meter, 20 like 20 meters high. No, that's too high.
20
Wait,
foot.
think about a shot like a 5 story or 4 story high building. That's how
Still pretty
high. It's
high.
pretty
Yeah.
high. So yeah, there was that. But other than that specific like lightsaber duel thing that they
Yeah.
choreographed, it wasn't at all that interesting, I'd say. But that's the closest
Yeah.
thing I've gone to
Uh,
a fan or a convention. It was like this
yeah.
small fan event that happened in my town. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was interesting.
I've been to two conventions
Yeah, yeah,
as but my words. I went to Comic Con
yeah,
MCM Comic Con London 2018 in summer, and to Insomnia. I cannot remember the number. It was probably I-64, considering that seems to be the last one that happened. That was 2019 spring.
yeah.
And both were fun, definitely. The first one, I only had like £15. So I bought a bunch of badges, which I appreciate. I had them on my bags, my school bag at different points in time, which was
Mm,
interesting. Some of them are artists, which I immediately went on Instagram when I came home and I was like, oh, I bought their stuff. Let me follow them on Instagram because, seems like they're a cool thing to do. Some other badges are like more like less. I don't get the names of the artists or whatever. Uh,
oh,
it was cool.
yeah,
It was cool. It was
yeah,
definitely for my first convention. I went alone, so it probably wasn't as fun as it was going to be. I missed the people I went there to meet. Like Tom Scar, I wasn't bothered to get in line to meet him because at that point in time, I'd only got into Aston movie rather
yeah,
recently,
yeah.
as of 2018. So I wasn't that. Now I definitely like wait in line to meet him because he is very cool in my opinion.
And there is
There
one
was,
more
uh,
convention I do want to quickly mention, and that it's not just fandoms as well. There's different conventions with various different things. There's a like I know a big popular one is E3, which is gaming.
yeah.
Um,
I
that's in
mean, yeah,
America. There's also like tech ones which I watch all the time from like YouTubers, but I don't think I'd ever go to them. But one convention, if I had lots of money and I dream to go to, is Disney's one. I can't remember the name. It's like D23 or something like that. And
D23.
there's like loads of like Disney stuff. They announce new Disney things. You can like meet and greet for like Frozen,
Yeah.
for
I,
example.
I feel like yeah, I feel like with me as well with conventions, me meeting people has gone from YouTubers to now voice actors and stuff who I
Yeah.
recognize, like voice actors who I'd love to meet
But
and
with
stuff. I mean,
D23, it's also much more diverse. So it's not just Disney. There's also Star Wars and Marvel things as
yeah,
well. So that maybe it might be better for your money to go to that one, maybe because it's more diverse. I don't know, but
yeah,
yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
I
I
did
was just gonna say,
I did mention this
uh,
earlier, but lightsabers. I do want to talk more about lightsabers
I mean, I was just gonna say, I think it would be great if like we could go to a convention with our friend group at one point in time
and
to a
cosplay.
convention. Maybe cosplay. I know, like, I'm just gonna put this out there. I know I've mentioned this to you, but like cosplaying our Minecraft characters, our
I
Minecraft
I know
characters.
I'm gonna if I cosplayed it definitely would have to be a Jedi and I definitely have to have a lightsaber.
I mean, I thought of like certain characters. Like, I found it funny. Like, what if I tried to cosplay Zeus from Gravity Falls? So, or something like that. But yeah, I have like a few characters in my mind who I'd love to like start working on in terms of cosplay or like see because obviously my mum's a tailor and she has a sewing machine. So like, hey, I have something. So
hmm
yeah, this is
You
definitely
can
something
make
I
your own costumes.
yeah like
Yeah,
relative
and there are some costumes you can do easier than others. Like for
yeah.
Star Wars, if you want to be a Jedi, it's just a brown robe. Like
Mhm.
it's pretty simple. But I don't know if you want to be a stormtrooper or like I know that there are
I
those
yeah
cosplayers
yeah
who have Mandalorian armor and all that,
yeah.
and that takes effort. Some people make
Mm,
armor,
yeah.
out of plastic or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah. I feel
That
like
takes effort.
I feel like we can talk about conventions at some point in the future. Once, if this is still going in the, or if we're doing something in the future where we're talking on the internet, we
I'd
can talk
say
about
the earliest we'd ever go to another convention is like
yeah.
2022.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, but what
Yeah,
I mean is like we can talk about it more once we've had more experiences, and I definitely want to go to. I don't know if you'd want to go, but definitely I'd want to go to Insomnia with some
yeah,
more of my friends or my friends from around London, and meet with my friends from Discord because
yeah.
I'd be like, friends, friends.
Friends.
You're all friends. 'Cause, I know one of my friends, Libs, has talked to some of you, and my other friend, Suki. Hi, Suki, if you're watching this, because she listens a little bit. I'd want her to meet some more of you because she's talked to Zach and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's more like meeting friends and meeting like mainly friends, but also voice actors, etc., etc. But moving
Anyway,
on from definitely.
lightsabers.
I was gonna like, I was gonna say the piece of thing we'd want most is lightsabers, so we can stab each. No, we don't want to stab each other unless you wanna,
I
go.
okay, so I've always I mean, if I got a lightsaber, yes, there's gonna be like the play fighting, I guess, you know.
Oh
But
yeah, I
also,
put this up to you, didn't I? Like where like if our school within the next year and we had some form of lightsaber, if the music teacher did something Star Wars related,
if
I
there
would
was
go
a
like,
Star Wars related like performance, we definitely need to go up there and choreograph a Star Wars duel.
yeah. I mean, like definitely, I'd love to like do. I wouldn't just want to like play fight with like somebody like you, but I'd love like if we were like able to like figure out how to choreograph a
Yeah,
real sort of
if you
right.
choreograph a fight, it would definitely look good if from an audience
Yeah,
perspective.
but
And this is my
to
main
do that,
complaint about
yeah,
competitive lightsaber fencing, because it is a
kind of thing.
thing. It's like a sport, like competitive. You have like these lightsabers, right? Um, and these lightsabers, which I want to talk about later, are pretty high end. You probably want to spend a couple hundred dollars or pounds for a good lightsaber because it's made of good materials and it lights up, and when it hits something it makes a noise, which adds to the effect, I guess. But yeah, um the problem with
Talk about, but to
fencing
do something,
or
you need the
competitive lightsaber dueling is it just doesn't look good. It just
it is
doesn't
just
look good.
it's literally just fencing, where the rules of fencing is you just have to touch your opponent with
Yeah,
your blade.
yeah,
And even real fights, like the sort of choreographed fights where like I'm no expert, but from what I can say is that a fight with swords isn't just the swords. That like the knights apparently used to have like daggers on them, like that, like they used to have daggers as like a secondary weapon, where like say they lose their sword, they can pull it out and like sort of stab it in between the armor and stuff. Like, and you use your body. You don't just like use your sword. You'll kick sometimes. You'll like grapple and stuff. Like,
I feel like that's harder to do in real life, if
of
you
course,
wanted to
like
like,
when it's
yeah,
not a real fight and it's a choreographed fight, it's gonna look cooler with the swords, obviously.
because like
But like,
in
there's
movies and
always
things,
a sense of realism.
when they do like kicks and punches, sometimes the actors or the stunt doubles are attached to wires and they get pulled back into crash mats and stuff. Um, so
Yeah,
that like when you kick someone, it looks like they're going flying, right? And for them,
yeah,
it's not bad. They don't get hurt as much, but it looks cool when
yeah.
you know put it in a movie. If you wanted to do that in real life, for example, at a I don't know a cosplay event or something, if you're gonna kick
Yeah.
someone, there are no crash mats to help you out. There are no
Yeah,
like
that's
things.
where that's where
Yeah.
like you have to have a practiced fight sort of thing.
So
You have
I'd
to have
say
practice.
getting into hand to hand combat might not look as good in real life, but you can
But
definitely
it's
have
realism. Yeah,
amazing good fights with lightsabers
uh,
that are
yeah.
choreographed.
I think this whole time I've actually been trying to sort of bring it back to the lightsabers
Yeah.
themselves. And
Sorry.
like talk about the ones themselves. Like, I know
Yeah.
I think even for the experience, we definitely want to go to Orlando one day. And
Yeah.
whether we want to go together or whether we go separately, it's still we want to go to Orlando eventually one day.
And I mean, the only reason I'd go there is to go to Star Wars Land mainly, and also Wizarding World and in Universal, but
Yeah.
mainly Star Wars Land,
I know like I feel
Galaxy's
like
Edge.
by the time we end up going there, I think they're like planning to open up some Marvel place as well, which
Yeah,
I'd
I
obviously
think
be
there's going to be a
interested
Marvel place, and also there's going to be this new Star Wars themed hotel at Walt Disney
in.
World
Oh yeah.
Orlando, which is essentially going to be like a live action role play. And I've seen like live action
Yeah.
role play like resorts before. I know I got an ad for this castle in Poland where you could pretend to go to Hogwarts, even though it's basically rip off Harry Potter. Like it's all rip off over there. But this this Star Wars hotel is an official, like, at Galaxy's Edge at Disney World,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a Star Wars themed hotel with you don't have windows
Yeah.
in the hotel room. You've got like screens which display space, so it's all immersive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you
Ah,
I don't know if you're gonna like that,
yeah.
but I know it's
I
definitely
know.
immersive.
I was gonna say like something we found out about Disney World or Disneyland Orlando recently is the fact that you can't go in costume, and I know
Yeah,
you were like,
I was
no,
disappointed. Yeah.
yeah, because obviously there's obvious reasons because when kids go there, they might see you and go like, oh, hello, and you're like, oh no, I don't work here, maybe like sort of thing.
What's interesting? Yeah, I mean that makes sense because you don't want to get mistaken for a cast member. Um, but
Yeah,
about Galaxy's Edge, right? The whole philosophy for that theme park was if you went there, you are like a character, and you were to experience it as if you were a character in
yeah.
Star Wars.
I think the one thing I'd love from going to Disneyland is not only with like the Star Wars characters, but just the Disney characters in general, is interacting with them.
Mm,
Looks hilarious, or seeing the interactions that other people have there and seeing them in real life rather than like on
yeah,
shot, like on
yeah.
video, just looks amazing. And in terms of the lightsabers, there are obviously the high end lightsabers there, like the ones where you have the whole building it yourself thing, isn't there as
Yeah, so
well?
you've got the lightsaber building experience where you can. So even like the whole story about this lightsaber building experience is so unique because the whole lore around this theme park is like it's a hidden rebel base on this outpost or resistance outpost, and there's the First Order have taken over, and you've got like stormtroopers marching around, and you can
Yeah.
talk to them, and you see those funny
But
videos
this,
of
I feel like the stormtroopers are like the funniest thing because
yeah,
you can like sort of go up to them and they're like, "Yo, bro, how are you?" And they're like, "Put
move
your hands
along,
up,
show
move
your
along."
ID,
Yeah, and like
Anyway.
just imagine like you have like one of the lightsabers hooked on your belt, and they're like, "Hmm,
Yeah.
hmm, hmm."
Anyway, like the whole lore is that the First Order are like patrolling the place. So,
Mhm.
and in the comics, like the Star Wars like theme park ties into books and comics, because that's just how
Ooh,
immersive the theme park is. You know how with the rest of with Disneyland, with the upcoming Marvel land, like it's not immersive. It's just here's a themed ride or here's a themed shop. But with Star
yeah,
Wars Land, it's an actual planet. Everything is themed to be the same, to be from the same planet. And with
yeah,
this lightsaber building shop, it doesn't look like a lightsaber building shop. It looks like a scrap yard, and that's basically the front, like the disguise for the shop. Because
yeah,
obviously, in universe, the First Order would want to just stop this sort of lightsaber building thing, especially Kylo Ren. He wouldn't be happy
yeah.
if there was
I mean,
people building
yeah.
lightsabers. So the whole experience was this shop is hidden, and you have to go through this hidden entrance, and then you can build your lightsaber in this hidden place. And now you've got a
Ah,
lightsaber, and you built it in secret without the First Order knowing. Like that's this whole story, and it's interesting to see
I
how they make
yeah.
real life into a story. Like when you go to Disneyland, you're part of the story.
I was to say I don't know too much about this because I've only seen people do it like
Yeah,
once and like one of them stars videos. But you probably know a bit more like how does like choosing the color work? Do you get to choose
you
any
get to
color
choose
you want?
you get to choose a kyber crystal, any color
Uh,
you want, and
uh
Disney being who they are, you could buy multiple kyber crystals
yeah.
for extra,
I was
but
just gonna
you
say,
choose one color basically.
are the ones where you build them yourselves, are they like more durable than like maybe ones you just buy which are pre-built?
It depends. I know you can buy the cheap plastic ones that are like cheap. Um,
Yeah,
at Disney stores or on supermarkets that are licensed by Disney, for example. But these
yeah.
I'd say they're pretty durable. Like the hilt is made of metal or feels like metal, so
Yeah.
it has some weight to it.
But you probably don't want to go smacking it really hard against rocks
No,
or
that's
like
the
against
thing.
another
Yeah, I was
saber.
gonna say you can buy the Galaxy's Edge lightsaber, which is a couple £100 or dollars, um, and it is pretty sturdy, but it's not a combat lightsaber. You can buy
Yeah,
combat
I know.
lightsabers that are
I've had
more,
like certain pages promoted to me on
yeah,
Instagram where it's like, buy these lightsabers. They're not. I don't. They're not official
they're
lightsabers. I
not
don't think.
official.
They're sort of
Um,
like
But you can buy like those lightsabers, and they're also maybe around the same price, but they're probably lighter and they probably last longer and they're more durable than the Disney ones. Um, and they're better for combat, I'd say, and they might make noises when you bash them, which is a big plus side. But you don't get the experience. You don't get the experience of building it, and with the Disney Galaxy's Edge ones, you have a crystal inside, and there's the whole experience.
I was gonna say, since we're talking about those, what color would you choose?
Probably yellow, I think.
That's like the Temple Guard color,
like
right?
the Temple Guard color, or maybe more like Ray. Either that.
I mean,
or
are there red kind of crystals
there are
as well?
red. Yeah, there's red. Yeah.
Just everybody slowly looks at you when you're the only one who's chosen the red one, and they're just like.
And there's purple as well, which is cool.
Yeah.
I think there are some people who manage to hack the kyber crystal so that it, or hack the electronics of this so that they could get all the colors for free. Because normally if you want to get every color, you have to buy all the crystals, which is Disney's way of making money. But yeah, you can get those lightsabers, which are you get the experience, but they don't last. I wouldn't say you'd want to start bashing them on everything, but you can get the combat ones, which would probably last longer. But then you can't customize it as much. So with the Galaxy's Edge ones, you can customize it to how you want it to be, which is certainly a plus side. I didn't ask you what color you wanted your lightsaber to be. I sort of rambled on about lightsabers without knowing what your color would be.
I mean, if we're gonna go off the quiz we took for the quiz that you made, blue's a basic color. It's a nice color. I wouldn't mind having blue, to be honest. But
you can't go wrong with blue, It's
Red is also something you can't go wrong with, other than being viewed as somebody who may possibly go on a massacre.
I mean, I choose a Jedi color because if I had to cosplay it, I'd cosplay a Jedi.
I would probably I'd probably be the most basic child ever and probably go with blue.
Blue, yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
Part of me wants to get white, maybe Ahsoka colored like lightsabers, but I feel like white won't look cool in a darkened room. I feel like if you have maybe like red.
I don't know about you, but if it was a pure dark room, it would be kind of interesting. But
anyway, we're coming to the end of the episode. Let's quickly do autocomplete. We might only have time to do one thing. So yeah, you can choose the letter this time.
I kind of want to do J.
J, okay.
Or do you want to do F?
Let's do J. Okay. I typed in J, and the first thing that came up is Jinora from Korra.
Yep, so I got Jinora.
Right.
I got Jinora in book 4 because of the fact that you said you respected it as well in the last episode. So
I didn't say that last episode. I said that off recording. I said something.
Oh.
Okay, I shall reveal.
Yeah, Jinora wasn't mentioned. That's what it
I mean, I said nothing. I said nothing after the episode. Totally. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. She is a really respectable character for her age as well, and she took leadership really well.
Okay, so last episode, there was that specific question, and I was saying the 3 characters to answer the question, and for the third one, I kept quiet. I said I forgot. Well, actually, I sort of remembered, and then I said Jinora. If you haven't watched that last episode, you have no idea what I'm talking about, which is great.
What comes up after Jinora, other than like maybe John Lewis?
Joke,
basically.
Because I was trying to look for jokes.
I have Jack Sucks at Life Kazoo. Jack Sucks at Life Kazoo.
Yes.
I mean, I kind of want to quickly do F because fandoms, because it's one of the. Oh, fan pyramid. Then I had like fantasy definition.
For F, I got Fantastic Beasts.
Okay.
I was just, searching up stuff. Anyway, quickly moving on to question of the day. This one was asked by Amber. What conspiracy / fan theories do you believe in?
I don't really know because I know like I used to watch quite a few of like Ben and Jerry's, and I've started watching them a tiny bit more, right, as
Hmm.
well. It is interesting. I don't know. What are yours? If I can maybe.
My answer to that would be, you know that scene in episode 7 where Kylo Ren and Han Solo like sort of have a little confrontation, and Kylo Ren is really conflicted. He knows that he's been told to kill his father, but he can't quite do it, right? And they have this awkward like standoff where they're like jostling for the lightsaber, um, and he wants to let go of it and give it to his dad, but he can't let go of the lightsaber, and then he ends up killing Han Solo. So the theory is Han Solo killed himself because, in a way, to save his son, because he didn't want his son to have the burden of killing his own father. So the theory is Han Solo killed himself. Um, that's I don't know if I want to believe that. I'd say it's one of the more believable ones, and I can see it happening. So yeah, I'd say that's my answer to the question.
Yeah, and I feel like Han. I feel like if he were to die anyway, it's either to die peacefully, but I feel like he wouldn't have. He didn't feel bad about dying to his son, to be honest.
I mean, it wasn't a particularly painful death, I'd say.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only really theory channel I've really watched in my time, other than like Pokemon theories and stuff, is Super Carlin Brothers, and
They
I've
do
been
a lot
getting
of
a bit
theories.
into
Yeah.
their videos, but I can't really think of too many.
Oh,
I can't
I
remember
I know
many.
one of my favorite ones from Super Cullen Brothers is a theory that Ty Lee is a descendant of the air nomads.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have
I
not
liked that
watched
one.
that one yet. I
I
haven't
liked
seen
that
that
one.
one specifically yet.
Essentially, um, Ty Lee has the physical, well, it just looks like she has the ethnicity basically of an air nomad. She doesn't quite match all the other Fire Nation
Oh,
people,
okay.
and then also she's very floaty and very spiritual with her chi, which
Yeah.
again is like air nomad stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, I did remember one that they released this year, earlier this year, which is it's a fun theory, but it probably isn't true. It's
Hmm.
the Disneyverse theory. It's like the Pixar story theory, but it's
Oh,
like
the Pixar theory
the
I should have
Disney
answered. That's one of my favorite ones.
universe.
Yeah, the
I was gonna
Disneyverse,
say,
another good one.
yeah, Super Columbus came up with a Disneyverse theory where like the modern era films, so like Big Hero 6,
Frozen,
Tangled,
Tangled,
Frozen, Moana,
Moana.
how
Yeah.
they all maybe come together, and like
That
one thing
one's a
they
bit
said
more
was
far
that
fetched than the Pixar theory.
it's a fun theory
Yeah.
more than a practical theory, but it can make sense because I feel like with the expansion of Tangled via the film and maybe Moana via the series. Like, there's a lot more to work with. Like somebody, maybe some villain wanting the moon and sunstone, and we already know Anna and Elsa have some connection to her, and we have like the whole Big Hero 6 portal thing as well. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, I do remember one of their theories where like a Tadashi, Hero's older brother, was Tadashi himself, was Hero
Okay.
himself who had time
Yeah.
traveled,
Oh,
which is one of the older
and then
theories
there's the
as well.
Easter eggs, like what's it called? Like there's a statue of like Hans in
Yeah.
Big Hero 6. So you got those Easter eggs where people make connections through those.
Yeah.
But again, it's a bit more. I'd say it's more far fetched than the Pixar theory.
It's a fun one,
Yeah.
definitely.
But anyway, that kind of wraps it up for today's very busy, jam-packed episode all about the fandom spectrum. And the question for you is, where are you on the fandom spectrum? Are you sort of more casual? Maybe
Or like
like
not
still
only
new,
like
new fan
not
maybe?
only on the spectrum itself, but like maybe specific fandoms you're in. Like you'd
Mm-hmm.
say like what are the ones you're most into, maybe,
Yeah.
or like what are the media you most enjoy, maybe as
Yes.
well.
So yeah, that's the question, and thanks for watching or listening to us talking about like toys, collectibles, lightsabers,
Yeah.
and yeah, maybe we'll see each other in a fan event or like convention. Imagine if I got famous. Imagine, I mean, imagine like yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough dreaming aside, and enough like pretending I had lots of money that I could buy all of the stuff I want to buy. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next one. We release every 2 weeks. Make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe, and
Right.
see you in the next episode. Goodbye.
Goodbye.